Welcome to the Unpressed Podcast, our weekly virtual cocktail hour between two old friends on opposite coasts. I'm Jenny, a single mom living in Silicon Valley in the land of tech bros, venture capital, and questionable wellness trends.
And I'm Talbot, gay, married, living on the East Coast, dividing my time between New York chaos and Palm Beach drama.
We've survived marriages, divorces, bad highlights, worse decisions, and somehow we're still laughing.
Mostly to keep from crying. So every week we pour a drink and unpack whatever life, love, or our aging bodies have thrown at us lately.
No filters, no pretending to have it all together.
Just two friends, a little too honest and completely unpressed.
Talbot, it's that time of year again.
Oh, I know. Well, so Jenny, I want you to know I was at a party today and I was talking to one of our listeners. We actually do have a listener.
I'm very excited to hear we have one.
At least one. And he said, I have a question for you. I said, great. I'd love to know. And he said, so my question is, do you actually have cocktails while you do your podcast? And I said, well, not normally, but because I knew that tonight we were going to be talking about what we're going to be talking about, I did pour myself a nice big martini.
We do. And I have poured myself a glass of wine, and I would like everybody to know it's only 3:20 in the afternoon for me.
Oh, but it's a Sunday, so that's okay.
Right. And yeah, I mean, right, they say it's 5:00 somewhere. It's 5:00 in Nebraska right now. Yeah.
So we are now at the time of the year where everybody talks about resolutions. Jenny, do you
That's right.
typically make a New Year's resolution?
I do. My whole life, I think I try to give up something for Lent and I make a New Year's resolution until a few years ago when I realized neither of those things work.
Never.
Yeah, they don't work. And you were reading something about like a lot of people make New Year's resolutions, but not a lot
Yes.
of people follow through on them.
Yeah, something like 24% fail within the first week. And by the end of February, 80% of New Year's resolutions have failed. Only 9% of people make it a whole year. So my resolution is I'm not going to make any more resolutions.
Well, that I get. Isn't it like gym memberships go way up in January and then?
Of course, I have to tell you, as somebody who goes to the gym on a regular basis, I hate January.
It's too busy.
Because it's like, excuse me, I'm here 200 days a year. Why?
Yeah.
Get the way out of my way.
In my workout classes, there's a lot of beginners in January.
Oh, is that what we're going to call them? Beginners? Okay. Yes, there are a lot of beginners, and they're often gone by the third week in January.
Yeah. So something I read about 4 years ago, which is a totally different way to think about setting yourself up for something that you want to strive for this year, is called a nudge word. So a nudge word is a single word that you pick that talks to you about something you want more of in your life, or you want less of in your life, or a little attitude shift. And
so like the word penis?
Yeah, well, I don't want to be nudged by someone's penis. I'll be totally frank, unless.
All right, keep going.
Invite it. Yeah. So surprisingly, this nudge word concept works for me. Like I actually carry this word, and when things get tough or overwhelming, and I just remember the word I chose, and it really helps center me. So what we thought we would do is give some examples of these nudge words.
This article put them into 3 different categories. I'm sure there are a ton of different categories.
Yeah.
They had words of reflection, words of change, and words of connection. So words of reflection include awareness, awe, breathe, pause, reset, gratitude, resilience, optimism, focus, words of change, reset. That was also a word of reflection. So
Yeah, it was.
renew, nourish, energize, growth, recharge, evolve, bloom, adventure, travel. And then words of connection, relate, reconnect, experience, balance, engage, cherish, comfort, and listen.
I had a friend choose Bloom one year, and she was thinking about sort of reinventing her life and coming into her own. So to her, Bloom meant, you know,
Awakening.
I'm gonna take up some space in the world, and I'm gonna be beautiful in terms of how I show up in the world.
So she went and had a lot of plastic surgery.
That's not Bloom, that's Renew.
Oh, okay. Important
Yeah,
distinction.
I chose abundance one year, and to me, I can get into a scarcity mindset where I don't feel like I have enough. Like I don't
Right.
have enough money, or I don't have enough friends, or I don't have enough trips planned. And abundance was this idea that there's enough. There's enough out there. There's enough food. There's enough people to connect with. There's enough
Yep.
fun to be had. And it isn't, you're not lacking. There's plenty, even if you don't feel like there's plenty. And I found that very comforting.
Right. Yeah, I could see that. So they said the way to think about it is to think about what you've done in the past year that has made you feel good,
Yeah.
and how you can then take that notion and get more of it to make you feel even better in the new year, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like so for instance, if you're a middle-aged woman and you're hearing all these things about how you're supposed to get stronger, you're supposed to lift weights, you're supposed to get strong, like you might pick the word strength, and in your mind you know what that means. It actually might mean I am going to go get physically stronger, but I'm also going to believe in myself and be a stronger advocate for myself. And you just carry it. And
Got
when
it.
you wake up in the morning and you say strength, you're like, okay, I'm going to do a couple things today that make me feel strong.
So you do an affirmation like from SNL. I am strong.
I am strong. I am. People like me.
So have you picked your nudge word for this year?
I think I've landed on it, but you told me I haven't quite yet. Sometimes I like oscillate between two words till about February. but I will tell you-
Decisiveness is your word.
No, well, yeah. Tell me, but you said you picked yours.
I did.
So
I did.
what's your nudge word and why?
Okay, so my nudge word, and I've thought about this. I actually have a lot of good reasons for this being my nudge word, is persevere.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And I will tell you why. Because as you know, I just finished my MFA in creative writing. So after
Yep.
30 years about not being back in school, deciding I needed to do something more interesting with my life, I decided to go back to school in creative writing. And one of the things you have to do is you have to write a novel, and then you have to write a crit paper. And I decided that because, I'm one of those overachievers, I finished my first novel a year ago, early on in the program, because I had it for a while. And I was like, well, I'm going to do a second novel. And that sounds great, right? And I decided this a year ago. And you think, a year, I've got plenty of time, a year to write a book. A year goes by like that.
That would not be
And-
enough time for me.
Oh my gosh. So I got to a point in November.
Especially because you were also doing classes and teaching. So-
And yes, I had a very busy, this last semester was incredibly, incredibly hectic, as many last semesters are. So on top of everything, I decided I'm going to write this other book. And I made a commitment to my mentor and the dean that I was going to write a second novel. So I had already gone on the record saying this was going to be
Goal setting.
right? So, and I'm one of those writers. Everybody says, well, how do you write? Do you get up every morning at 5 and write for 2 hours like some people? I said, no, that's not the way my brain works. My brain works when it works. And it doesn't always work. So oftentimes there might be a day or 2 or 3 days where I don't write anything because my brain just hasn't come up with anything. And then there'll be a day where I might write 4, 5, 6, 8 pages, 10 pages. Oftentimes things will come to me as I'm falling asleep and I'll have to get up and write a couple pages or at least write notes. So I didn't really think about that when I gave myself a year's deadline. So I got to about October and I had roughly 35,000 words. And I knew that this novel was going to be about 75,000 words.
So you're halfway there in
I'm halfway
the 10th
there.
month of the year.
I wasn't thinking about the 10th month of the year. I was thinking I now have basically 8 weeks left.
Yeah.
8 weeks left to write 50,000 words.
Yeah.
So then I started parsing it out. How many is that a day and blah, blah, blah. And that just threw me into panic mode and shut my brain down. But so what I ended up doing was getting to a point where I would force myself on the days that I didn't think my brain was going to work. I'm like, we're going to do something different and we're going to push through. We're going to push through. We're going to put words on a paper and see what happens.
So then were you scheduling like, okay, I'm going to sit down and write?
I was not scheduling like I'm going to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and write, but I was like, I am going to write at least 3 or 4 pages today. And for most of the part, I did. Now, some of those pages were crap and I didn't really like that, but what it showed me was I can persevere when I need to, and I can get something done. And more importantly is it brought a different practice that I found to actually be useful. And at the same time, I'm also pitching my first novel. So the other thing is I am sending out all these letters all the time, querying potential agents. And every other day or every other third day or every once a week, you get another notice saying, thank you, but no thank you. And I realized that the only way I was going to get this second book done and the only way I was going to survive as a writer is if I didn't let those rejections get me down and just said, okay, that's another letter in the box. But it's a response to a letter I sent out, and I did a great thing by sending out that letter. And so I just got into this moment of I am just going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep persevering. I am not going to let anything slow me down. And that felt great.
You get slowed down like as you're writing if you think, oh, that was sort of crappy. Like having the reader in mind all the time, I think would be debilitating.
It is. It can be really tricky. One of the things I found is that at certain points, you just have to move away from that and just get stuff written, right? You just have to put the words down on the paper, because what ends up happening is then I would go back and reread it and say, okay, here was a good idea. It didn't get executed quite right. So I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to add this and fine tune this. But as opposed to just being faced with a blank page, I was now sculpting something that kind of existed. Now, again, it's not necessarily the way I'd want to write, but I figured I can write that way. But more important, it just taught me the importance of just pushing through and just saying, today, I'm going to send out a query letter. Today, I'm going to write 2 pages. Today, I'm going to reread the first 10 pages. And
steps forward, just keep going forward. Did you ever do that National Novel Writing Month, NaNoWriMo?
No. But a lot of people like
I did it. You have to write 50,000 words in 1 month.
Yeah.
And I did it, and it's terrible. But I have a novel somewhere, like a fiction about young people living in New York City.
Well, what every writer will tell you is the biggest problem is to edit while you're writing. You need to just get.
It's like 2 different mindsets, right?
It's 2 different mindsets, but the problem is that my mind is constantly reevaluating everything that has come before.
Yeah,
and so at a certain point, you have to say, okay, I'm going to turn that part of my brain off, and I'm going to let the organic piece go for today, and then I'm going to turn the organic piece off, and I'm going to go back and reread. You have to really be able to jostle between the two. But again, when you're faced with a deadline, you learned to do that on a more regular basis. And so I thought, again, it's not necessarily, I would love to have all the time in the world. I would love to be able to write when the inspiration hits. That's when I write my best. That's when I enjoy it the most. But I did learn that I can persevere. And that's going to be more important as I'm now shopping my books, not just writing my books. So that's my word for the year, persevere. Just just get out there and continue to move forward and not worry about what happened yesterday, because what happened yesterday is gone. I can't control it. And a no from a potential agent has nothing to do with me. It might be that they already have a book like mine, or that they've already decided that they're going to go into a YA young adult romance world. And that's not what I write. So that's fine. So you just say, I'm not going to let that bog me down. I'm going to keep persevering. I'm going to keep moving forward, because it's not that I'm not judging myself on success, right? It's not about success. It's not about selling. It's not about getting published, because I can't control that. The only thing I can control is continue to persevere and continue to put it out there and continue to work. So that's my word for 2026.
Persevere. Yeah, I like it. I like it. My word is surprising this year to me. And my nudge word for the year is discomfort. Which I've never used a negative word before, but this represents a couple things that I'm dealing with in my life that are difficult, but I want to sit with them anyway.
I love that for you. I really love that for you.
Yeah. I mean, the first is this podcast. I'm very discomforted by being out in the airwaves. And
well, not only that, but you threw up. I couldn't believe it. The number of obstacles and hurdles you kept throwing up. What if nobody listens? What if we do this? What if we don't do this? And I kept saying to you, just let's give it a shot. Why? Why not worry? Why?
I attributed that, and you tell me if this is right or wrong, because you're not an cautious person. You're a cautious person in some ways.
Me or you?
You are unfiltered in some ways, and you are cautious in other ways. And I attributed your gung-ho-ness about our launching this podcast to the fact that you already had to deal with the idea that people are going to criticize your work because of your novels.
Yeah. Well, and I also think that there is a certain considered impetuousness to my personality, right? I may not go off the cuff on a second's notice, but once I've decided that we should go, then my feeling is let's go.
That's interesting.
So
yeah,
it's like, well, we don't have anything to lose, right?
Yeah, for me, very uncomfortable because, I mean, look, no matter what you say, there are going to be people who don't like it. Don't agree,
of course,
for whatever reason. And I'm not that comfortable with criticism. I never have been. And so I'm trying to get comfortable with that discomfort.
But I think particularly now, there's just a need for people to be unfiltered and unpressed, as we like to say, is just
unpressed.
Let us just show everybody what it looks like and how it feels. And as you said, if you like it, great. If you don't like it, great. And if we make you discomforted, even better.
Yeah, it's true, because then it's something you might want to think about or you might want to work on. And I think about the people on the airwaves that I really admire and connect with, and they are putting it all out there.
Of course.
And they sometimes get a lot of criticism for that, and they do it anyway.
Well, and when I taught this seminar this past fall, we were talking about using fables as a way to understand creative writing and a trope, and how to get into the notion of haves and needs and villains and anti-villains and heroes. But one of the things we talked about, I actually did a entire class on feedback and revisions.
Ooh.
Because obviously, anyone who's involved in the creative arts knows that at a certain point, you need to let go of your work and show it to others and see what they say. Yeah. And I kept saying to my students, and now that I've been out there a little bit more, I get people saying, would you be willing to read my book? Would you be willing to read whatever? I said, yes, you have to understand. You will never please everybody. So if I don't like your book, that doesn't mean it's a failure.
You're not everybody's flavor of cereal.
Exactly. And I also said, anytime anybody gives you feedback, you need to take a moment and sit with it and say, does that feedback work with who I want to be and the story I want to tell and the voice that I use? Because if the answer is yes, then great. Figure out how to use that, because what people are telling you is there might be a hole, there might be an opportunity for greater connection, there might be an opportunity for me to feel more empathetic. And if that feels true to who you are as a writer in your story, then that's a great gift that they have just given you.
Yeah.
However, if what they have told you is antithetical to who you think you see yourself as, then you don't use it, because
Yeah.
if you start to lose the authenticity of your voice, then you're done for. So I always say to people, you have to get comfortable with feedback. You have to be willing to know that you don't have to use every piece of feedback. And what people are giving to you is just their point of view. You have to always respect it. You always have to
Yeah.
be thankful for it, because it's a gift of time that these people are giving to you.
I want to go back to perseverance, because I
Oh,
feel
okay.
like the nudge words are what the beauty of them is. It isn't just in one area generally. So we talked about perseverance of writing for you and sectioning off the creative side from the editing side, and
Yep.
the perseverance of pitching your book and
Right.
getting rejections and keeping going anyway.
Right.
What other areas of your life do you think perseverance will be illuminating, motivating, and guiding for you this year?
I think there are a couple of things that come right off to mind. One, I love horses and horseback riding. And your daughter, my goddaughter, we have so much fun sharing that love.
Yeah, you guys have a very special bond over horses.
One of the things I've walked away from, because I thought, well, I need to be a little bit more fiscally responsible, and I need to just be mindful, right? And what that has related, or what that has caused, is a distancing for me from horses. Personally,
Interesting.
I am going to get to a point where I have horses again in my life on a more regular basis. And that's not
Yeah.
to say I want a thing. It's because they just bring me such joy. There is
Yeah.
just such a sense of connectedness with something other than yourself. And they're such
Mhm.
majestic creatures, and being around them just brings me such happiness and peace.
Perseverance in that area is, okay, I know something that really brings me joy, and I'm going to figure out how to get that in my life.
I'm gonna figure out how to continue to make that a priority, because
Exactly.
that is as important for my mental health as
Yep.
many other things. And some of my best friends in the world come from that world, and
Yeah.
every time I'm on a horse, I just feel so happy. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna persevere through my own self-regulation about
Mhm.
what that means. All right, so Jenny, I love the word discomfort, because it lends itself so much to self-improvement, self-awareness. But what do you most want to feel discomfort around in the next year?
Well, there's a couple areas in my life. We've talked about the podcast. Also, my mom and dad have been struggling with illness, and that has been really tough. And when I visit them, I have to sit with discomfort
Right.
a lot.
Right.
And to try to be there for them while also knowing that my parent is not going to be there forever. And it's very difficult to be, in a way, you're the parent like now, but you're also the kid. And I can't break down because they're breaking down.
Right.
And I've been practicing being present. And then when I'm not with them, living my life within my sort of my values and my purpose, and somehow keeping that as a thing that is happening in their life and my life, but it hasn't taken over my whole life. And that was a very tough thing to learn, but it has really helped. It's really helped to just allow them to have their feelings, and for me not to try to fix it. That I have to sit with that discomfort, and I have to sit with my own sorrow about the, eventual end that is coming, and that's super uncomfortable. And then the other part of my life, we talked about in a previous episode that I'm this social sea lion and sitting in a pile of other sea lions. And that's my idea of a full life, is all these, like this whole village of people around me. And I've spent a lot of the last year, and I intend to spend the next year, just taking chances, like joining new groups, or like my daughter sets me up on dates with women that she thinks are awesome. I think it's so cute.
Sure.
My daughter has all these buddies at the barn who range in age from 9 to 70.
Right.
And she just calls them all her friends, and I love it. And
Yeah.
she has said, "Oh, Mom, I think you would love Lisa," and just taking a chance. And she was right. And like, Lisa's one of my new best friends. Another thing that I am testing out that causes discomfort is if there's something that looks fun, like a concert, I'll just buy 2 tickets. So
Good for you.
And I don't know who it's going to be. Like it might be no one. And I bought tickets to a concert on Friday night, and then I asked one more girlfriend and she could go, and we had the best time. But there was a very strong possibility that I would be going alone or not at all. And I was like, that's not very comfortable, but I didn't want to miss out on this opportunity. I'm just putting myself out there in a way that maybe is a little bit uncomfortable.
Well, that's good. You should do that. I too. I mean, I have to tell you, I hate going out by myself. I hate going to the movies by myself. I hate going to a play. I hate doing anything by myself. But I've just learned, you know what? If you're there, and I'm in Florida a lot without Bill, I'm like, I can either sit at home or I can go and I'll sit at the bar and have a nice dinner, and maybe I'll talk to somebody, or maybe I won't. And it doesn't really matter, and I can have a good time. It doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the one that I'm not good at, and I've done it before, but only once or twice, is to go sit at a bar and have dinner, like in a restaurant. But you see people do it all the time, and they talk to the bartender, they talk to the person next to them, they talk to the couple next to them, and they're having such a good time. And there's such a part of me that doesn't want people to think I'm alone, I guess, or I don't want to be left there with no one to talk to.
So with your new word being discomfort,
yeah,
that is going to be your test. You are going to go to a great restaurant, someplace that has a great bar where they serve food, and you're going to go and you're going to sit by yourself, bring a book, because you can read, and then somebody will ask you what you're reading, or make an effort to talk to the people next to you. It's actually a really good thing to realize that you can be out on your own.
Yeah.
And choose to or choose not to engage, but it doesn't mean anything about who you are. But I have to
they did a fascinating study where they asked people to predict how satisfying it would be to talk to a stranger on a train. And most people said not very satisfying. And then they had people talked to a person, a stranger on the train, and they got a lot out of it. They actually really enjoyed it. And when they interviewed the person that was the stranger, they really enjoyed it. And so we really underestimate how those little interactions during the day all add up to social satisfaction and belonging and community. Like chatting with your checker at the grocery store, or when I walk my dog and somebody else's dog comes up and I have a little chat with them. We don't think those things matter, but they actually add up. So
Absolutely.
do them
Absolutely.
Because they actually contribute to our happiness and well-being.
So I think that should be,
All right.
other than
so I
the
have to
nudge
go
word.
alone to a restaurant.
Yes. But not only that,
And-
only that, I think, so yes, your nudge word is discomfort. My nudge word is perseverance. But I think what we should tell everybody is, if you don't do a nudge word, then just be open to those random encounters and be willing to say, I might get something out of this, or talk to the grocery clerk, because you might hear something. They might turn back to you and say something. You never know. And
Yeah,
as
you
I
don't know where the gems are. That's true.
and as a writer these days, I'm always looking for new material. So I keep thinking, that person has a story.
I love it.
All right,
Happy
darling.
New Year, everyone.
And let us know what your nudge word is.
I would love to hear everybody's nudge word. Put it in the comments or email us. And
Exactly. Or via Instagram. Just put it on there as a comment. What is your nudge
yeah,
word?
we would love that.
All right, darling. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, everybody. Bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.
So if you enjoyed listening to that, please support us by subscribing to our channel and by telling everyone you possibly know. You can email us at theunpressedpodcast@gmail.com. That's all one word, the Unpressed Podcast, no spaces. You can also follow us at Instagram. Our handle is @UnpressedPodcast. Thanks so much.